So what is a function? Function is the name that we give to a block of code. Let's say you have print this. Print hello. Print how are you doing? Print good morning. ठीक है? ये 3 लाइन है. इसको मुझे बार-बार यूज करना है at different places. So what I'll do is I will give it a name. Okay, इसको बोलते हैं function. So I'll say def my statement or something like that. Okay, so def stands for definition. That means you are creating a function. So you have to use def. Def के बाद any name that you want to give to the function. Def function name bracket open and close. Okay, फिर colon. This is how you define a function. And these 3 lines of code I want to give inside this function. Tab डाल के indentation. So indicates that this is your function name and these are the lines of code that you have added. Very similar to print. Print is also a function, isn't it? It is defined inbuilt. Okay, but now we are creating our own functions. We call it as user defined functions. User defined functions means functions that we are defining. Okay, so my statements is a user defined function. Okay, now when you run it, this will not get called. Okay, we have to call it specifically. What do we call a function?
User
Function name
statement, my statement,
bracket open and close. Print
bracket
वैसे
open
call
and-
करते हैं ना?
Yes.
So now my statements bracket open and close. You run it. So these lines are called, right? So function is simply name that we give to block of code. Okay. Now your function in this case does not take any value, but there can be a situation where you might want to pass some value. Okay. So for example, hello. I want to greet it by using a name, hello. So I will say here variable. I need one variable name, and I'll say hello. Okay, comma name. So my statement is now okay. Now see, if I fix a name here, then you can't change the name. So every time you are asking the calling program. Earlier we had. I'm going to call my statements too. Okay. My statement 2 needs a variable. Okay, so hello. Okay, so now when I call my statements 2, okay, my statements 2 will tell you error. Missing one required positional argument. It is expecting to pass one value. It's like you're going to a Xerox shop और बोल भैया Xerox दे दो. Xerox किसका दे दो? You have to give your original copy. तभी तो Xerox मिलेगा. Right? So you're saying भैया original तो दो. Original दो, then I'll give you Xerox, isn't it? So my statement is looking for one variable. So you have to pass one variable. I'm going to say Sachin. Now when you pass Sachin, okay, this is hello Sachin. How are you doing? Good morning. Okay, so this is an example of function which does not take any parameter, like input. Input does not take any parameter, isn't it? But you can also give one parameter. Print we give parameters. Okay, so my statement will look for exactly one parameter, nothing less, nothing more. You can't give 0, you can't give 2. Okay, now I want to use let's say two values, name and say greeting, I call it. Okay, कि good morning भी हो सकता है, good evening भी हो सकता है. So you put greeting here. Now you will see Sachin, comma, good morning. So whatever you pass from here, it will say hello Sachin, name is replaced with value, how are you doing, fixed है, and good morning because greeting is coming from here. Okay, so this is how we are passing values to my statements too, and my statements too is handling these variables and working according to it. This is an example of your functions that takes parameter. Now here if you see that two important thing जब error आया था, required and positional. Required and positional. Required and positional मतलब क्या हुआ? There are two variables. You have to give two values. Required. I cannot give one, or I cannot give three, or I mean, every variable you have to give one value, isn't it? So name के लिए you have to give one, question greeting के लिए one. So you have to give. That's why it's called required. Positional क्यों? क्योंकि name will always take, name is the first parameter. It will always take the first value. I cannot, no, greeting cannot take Sachin. Greeting will take only second value, whatever you give. So first parameter will take first value, second will take second, third will take third, 10th will take 10th, nth will take n. Right? That's called positional. Okay, it has to be in same position. Okay, it has to be in same position and you have to give the value. That's what we call required and positional values. Okay. Now the third type of function which says, okay, if you do not, we will get rid of required. So positional is important, but instead of position required, it's a default value. For example, I will say greeting equal to good morning. Okay. So assigning a value here. Now, in this case, you can, maybe we'll make it greeting 3. Greeting 3. Now, if you pass the value, it will take what you pass. Let's say I give evening. Then it will take evening. So you see, it says good evening. But since it has a default value, agar morning dena hai, then don't give it. See, if I delete from here, I'll get error. Okay, this is required. You have to pass. Since I've given a default, this is called default value. If I've given a default value, okay, that's why it will not give error in this case. Because when I don't pass, it will take the default value. When you don't pass, it will take the default value.
Default value.
Okay. Now, when you pass, then whatever you give, it will take that one. Okay. So remember, okay, the default value has to be on the right side. Hamesha. Cannot be on the left side. So here, see, this is required value. Correct? Name is required because name equal to मैंने नहीं दिया है. So name is required, but greeting is default. Right? So name is required. I have to pass at least one variable. Name is required and greeting is optional or default. So if you have required and default, you cannot use required after this. क्योंकि अगर name को यहाँ लिखेंगे हम, so you have to pass name value, correct? And positional भी है. Positional means I cannot go directly to second, right? If I have to give first variable, then only I can give second variable. For example, let's say I put name here. Okay. So now name is required. I have to give required. So name required देने के लिए I have to give first value, then only I can give second value, isn't it? So if I have to give first value, then only I can give second value, because greeting will take first value, name will take second value, positional. So I have to give value for greeting. तो उसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं रहा ना डिफॉल्ट देने का, क्या? क्योंकि सेकंड वैल्यू मुझे देना ही है. जब सेकंड वैल्यू देना ही है तो फर्स्ट भी देना पड़ेगा ना. आई कैन नॉट डायरेक्टली गिव सेकंड. आई कैन नॉट से कि I'll delete hello and I'll say Sachin is Sachin is number 2 value. No, now Sachin is number 1 parameter, so Sachin will go to greeting only. Greeting will take Sachin. So there is no point. Okay, in fact करोगे तो error आएगा. All the default values has to be on the right side and required on left side. तभी मतलब है, नहीं तो फिर मतलब ही नहीं रहा. Right? So you give required before default. Okay. Required variables are given before default. Variable नहीं बोलेंगे, we'll call parameters. Okay. So we have learned 3 types of functions. Functions that do not take any parameter, function that take required positional, function that takes default and positional. Default and positional. Positional है still. Name will take name. अगर दो दोगे तो भी greeting second वाला ही लेगा. Okay. Okay. There are 2 more types which we'll do the next class. Now, in this, you have something called as return or not return. Okay. So function can also see parameter is to give value to the function. So parameter is like giving value to the function. Return means you're taking the value from the function. Okay, you're giving, not giving is up to you. Returning, taking back, not taking back is up to you. So for example, here I'm going to say return 100. If I say return 100, so कोई change नहीं होगा, but I need to catch here result equal to. Okay, so result equal to my function. Now result equal to my function देने से क्या होगा? So whatever return values here will come to result. Okay, now if I print result value क्या होगा? 100 होगा. Okay, now this function is not returning anything. Let's say I put result equal to here. Then I say print result. क्या आएगा? It is not returning, isn't it? फिर भी अगर मैं कर रहा हूँ, so you'll see that you'll get none. Okay, none is the return. So you can check if it is none, that means function is not returning. Okay, otherwise function is returning this. Okay, so we have seen function with return value, function without return value. We have seen function which takes default arguments, function which takes required arguments, and function which takes positional arguments. So 5 things we did today: return, not return, positional, default, and required. Okay. Now assignment. I want you to do this. I want you to write function to perform. Okay. Function to take 2 numbers as input and perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so take 2 numbers as input. Okay, okay, create two functions. Okay, एक में required positional. Okay, so two functions. First one will be required positional. And second one will be default, where numbers are 99 and 99. Okay, दो चाहिए मुझे. So this is one format and this is the second format. So here both the numbers will be default 99, 99. So when you don't pass numbers, it will take numbers as 99 and perform all the 4 operations. समझ में आया problem? Do it and post it in the WhatsApp group.
Okay, sir.